Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Awashai Bashem Bakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, double honors into the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathens that look like the heathens. And to the Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming out with you another lesson in truth. And this is going to be a response to the video on the screen, the top one, which was put up by Watazawanya, or also known as the mighty St. Benji. St. Benji is second in command in Chicago camp. Extremely edifying videos. And you know, and this brother, there's a special portion of this Holy Spirit that's upon St. Benji, whether he realizes it or not. All right, and I, matter of fact, he's one of the main brothers I go to when I can't remember a scripture, you know, and it slips my mind. He's one of the main brothers that I go to who, you know, who be Johnny on the spot with exactly what I'm looking for, you know, 99 times out of 100. All right. And, you know, and there's a lot of brothers, and matter of fact, there's a lot of brothers in the Chicago camp and in the surrounding camps, Mathathia being one of them that are like that. You know, spirit is heavy on them. But this video was extremely edifying, and it also kind of make you angry. All right, especially when he goes into the history of the damage that the black fraternities have done, and their part in the, you know, in the bringing down of their own people to you know, to change their ways, to seek love. We'll get into all that. But first, I want to open with the scripture in First Maccabees. Let's get that to set the mood. This is First Maccabees 1, and I'm going to start at verse 11. And it reads, well, you know, in the beginning, you read it. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and start at 1. All right, and it reads, and it happened that after Alexander, the son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persian Medes, he reigned the first in his stead, the first over Greece, so the first in his race to reign over the brown-skinned, Negroid type Greeks, and replaced them with what today ignorantly refers to as white people, which they self-proclaim. You know, they started calling themselves that. You know, they made it up. It's a made-up social construct. They're really red. They're the Edomites. But they got dominion over the whole earth for the first time over the Grecians. All right? Because a lot of people are still ignorant to the fact that the Grecians were actually a Negroid type people, for lack of a better word. They were melanated. They weren't pale-fleshed. All right? They took them over. Okay? Just look up the history of the Etruscans, or look up the history of the and look at the dress that they wear, and you will find that that's the same dress and customs that the Hawaiians, the Samoans, the Polynesians kept, because they were the inhabitants of Greece. They were the melanated people who ruled that land, who got taken down by the invading what today recalls to us as white people. So just to understand that, so you can get a picture of what's going on here. All right. And then it tells you, know, that he got dominion over the whole earth, that the earth was, you know, was given into the hand of the wicked. Job 9:24 matches right up with First Maccabees. As a matter of fact, let me go up to where it says, I'm starting verse 7. First Maccabees 1:7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servant Beru, everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so that their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. So evils multiplied in the earth when the so-called white man came into rulership via Alexander of Macedonia, whose bloodline, whose sperm line he came from, can be traced back to Esau, Edom. All right. Starting at verse 11 now, because after they got dominion, many of our people sought to please and oblige to their system. Okay. This is 1 Maccabees 1 and 11. And it reads, in those days there went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go up, make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. So it's gyms, and they exercise naked. All right. That's where you get all your Olympic games and things of that nature from. That's why the girls always run around with their cheeks out. All right. You know, the high jumpers and all that, and the track stars, because they actually did it completely naked in the past. So they're almost there today. It says, then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the custom of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have dominion over 2 realms. So actually, I could have stopped at 15. But it says that they joined themselves unto the heathen, became uncircumcised, all right, and forsook the holy covenant. So we've lost our ways then. Now you got to remember, this went on for 400 years. You know, that became the Hellenization period of the Israelites, which, you know, Christianity ducks and darts this portion of history in the Bible, and then just go straight to the New Testament, Matthew, and start talking about salvation to everyone, not understanding that our people had lost their way, followed the heathen, and were scattered among the heathen. And many of them, after 400 years, didn't even know they were Israelites anymore. Those were the Gentiles, you know. And so we still have our people that are following those Gentile-like ways to this day. All right, let's go to, in the same chapter, let's go up to verse 40. And it reads, 1 Maccabees 1 and 40. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was ruined into mourning. All right. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his law. So all the heathen agreed to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. So our people were assimilating to the way of the Grecians, and so were all the other conquered heathen. They were trying to make one people, make everybody Grecians, and later on it became Romans as the Roman Empire began to rise, and there was just infighting between the Greeks and the Romans. They were the same people by race. Don't forget, though, that originally all those people started off as melanated. So you basically had a society not much different from today, the society of Greece and Rome. You had a mixed multitude of melanated people, with pale flesh people being the first class people, the rulers over them. That was what was going on. And then favors were given to certain melanated people, including the Israelites, who sought to assimilate to the ways of our enemies, into the Greekish fashion, in order to have position and seek favor. All right, the same situation in the early 19th century as you fast forward. All right, you check out the movie Amsterdam, and you'll see how that correlates with the lesson that St. Benji did, and the lesson that my response to it now. All right, our people were fighting in their wars, died for their causes, only to be forced, to remain a third-class citizen. All right, and then that citizen actually allowed them to push policies upon us that advanced them and held us down, but it would let a few of the people who assimilated have prevalent positions over the rest of us. And that's when he talked about the Greek fraternities, because our people are still cleaving into those Greekish fashions. So, Esau allowed the black, so-called black, that's a social construct as well, Greek fraternities to put into place. And when you think about it, and they're so proud of these things, but they popped up all early in the earlier part of the 19th century, late 18th century, when these things started coming to be. And these were all ploys of the so-called white man to build a class of Negroes that he would allow to have some prosperity, but to ensure that the majority of the rest stayed down. And that's exactly what it was for. This is Daniel 8:25. And it reads, "And through his policy also he caused craft to prosper in his hand. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hands." So that allowed, the redlining, that this policy was able to go in place, the Jim Crow laws, the racist stereotypes and entertainment and cartoons, movies, racist history and science backed by pseudoscience, false science, all right, about how dumb and ignorant and the large heads and large penises were no good, and we all kind of weird shit that they made about us, all right? Forced sterilization, the Tuskegee experiments, first on the Negroes, and when they got exposed, they continued in Guatemala, on the Guatemalans in South America, or below the border there. In 1931, there was some doctor, I forget his name, injected Ephraimites, what you refer to as Puerto Ricans, with cancer cells. They let our people still try to assimilate. Yet our people still try to assimilate, through college fraternities, the Boulets, Masons, and etc. And all these are controlled by Esau Edom, the so-called white man. And that's his policy, to gain control and rule, man. And here in Chicago, if you were familiar, if you came up in Chicago, starting in the late 70s through the 80s, even into the early 90s, Chicago had what you call high school fraternities, social clubs. All right. And one of the biggest and most popular ones was a group called the Bros. All right. And which I would say D Family and Crunch Bunch. And anybody from Chicago knows what I'm talking about. All right. And the D Family was probably the first. All right. Then Crunch Bunch came along, and these were all like baby fraternities, man. And so guess what? These were guys who were actually in college fraternities. They were deeply rooted in this. All right. The Bros had much of a street element to it. And it kind of changed the whole game when the Bros came along. But nevertheless, all of these high school frats, social clubs, were connected to college social clubs or college fraternities and sororities. All right, especially all you people who went to Lindblom. Although the Bros started in Hyde Park, and the Bros spread, basically went across the city. Where in the past, when Crunch Bunch and D Family, and there's a reason to all this. When they started, they were basically centered around Lindblom, only the school of Lindblom, and but the Bros went all city. That's how they became so big and so popular, and they were letting in people who definitely didn't meet the criteria as far as grades and things of that nature. They were looking more for strength and power. But the point being is that it always still stems back to the Greekish fashion, because those were omegas and alphas and what you call Q dogs and alpha dogs and the dudes with the canes. Why can't I think of them right now? That all were deeply rooted in those beginnings, in those social clubs, and that started at Lindblom High School here in Chicago. So it was the same thing even so basically in Chicago they had a jump on it, because it was like being in college, in high school in Chicago. As a matter of fact, those Bros parties were so popular and so well known, college fraternities would come to the Bros parties. That's how popular they were. But how good was that for you and for us? It still guided us so far away from who we really are, because most of the people in that, they're caught up in Christianity, which was set up by Esau Edom. They were caught up with the Muslim thing, which was set up by Esau Edom. They also caught up in the Afrocentric Kemet stuff, and then a mixture of the three, which creates complete confusion. All right. Also the Mason thing. So there's no truth in that, and all those were devices that were given by Esau Edom, and then they join these things so that they can get favor in this society. All right. And, yet the Israelites are out on the highways and byways telling you, look, hey, we're the people of the Lord. We got to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments, and our people just don't want to listen. This is Jeremiah 2:33. And it reads, why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways. All right. So you seeking love from a people that absolutely hate you and oppress your own people, just so you can have, position to be the highest slave, because that's all you're really competing for. All right. That's what you jockeying for, because like I said, it allows them to use their policy, to keep our people down with all the things that I mentioned before, the redlining, the Jim Crow laws, and all the sort of things that they did and that they still continue to do. There is a system of white superiority, a system of racism that still applies here in America. They just hide it a little bit better today. All right. And the truth be said, they really don't hide it. You see it in police work and in different in the courtroom, in law proceedings every day. OK. But and they were so worried about losing their position. As a matter of fact, let me find that now that I'm thinking about this whole fraternity thing and the whole Chicago social club scene, at the high school level. And those things have since dissolved. I don't hear about them anymore, except for the people who were a part of them. And most of those people went on to become part of the fraternities. A lot of the bros became Qs and Sigmas and other fraternities. But that was the whole point of them, the beginning of Crunch Bunch and D Family and that whole sort of thing. All right. And the bros itself was clearly designed after the Omegas, and a lot of the bros became Omegas. All right. But let me find this article where W.E. Du Bois he actually, here we go. You know what? Well, here it is. I'll just read it. But it says how this is an article that that was written about how black fraternities are actually harmful to the black culture in the U.S. All right. You can just Google it. It's I don't need to really put it on the screen. I'll just read it. But it says, no more than a century-old Black Greek letter organizations, fraternities, have more than 800,000 members. But are such organizations an asset, or do they work against the African-American community? This may be the same one that St. Benji read. And we're not, like he said, we're not two continents that are actually named after white man. That goes to show you how ignorant and how foolish, how stupid our people really are. I'm just going to be point blank. Because Africa is named after so-called white man, Scipio Africanus. And Asia, all right, is named after his brother, Scipio Asiaticus. So both the continent of Asia and Africa are named after white people, so-called. And that's recorded in the Bible, Psalms 49:11, that they would do that. America is named after another so-called white man, Amerigo Vespucci. So when you call yourself African American, you're calling yourself double white, all right, after two so-called white men, all right. But Ali Chambers argues that rather than unifying the black community against the effects of racial prejudice, they have merely become a vehicle for blacks to assimilate into white culture and society and means to create self-perpetual black oligarchy. And it's true, because people become, if you watch the movie Stomp the Yard, there was one scene when he said, you know, my whole future hangs in the balance and y'all worried about a step competition. All right. Because why? Because, you know, you get just like you become a Mason, you know, same deal. You afforded certain benefits in society. All right. And, you know, and most of the judges, they're all Masons, and the Mason will go to court and they'll stand up there and throw those hand signals symbols back and forth. And, you know, and Masons can actually, you know, get away with a lot of things in society that other people can't get away with. And it's true. I mean, even the Fraternal Order of the Police is a part of Masonic order. Their symbols are all Masonic. All right. And so a lot of this fraternity stuff is as well. They're all closely related. And so to get these positions, you know, but it keeps the rest of their people held down because that's not afforded to everyone. All right. Because it creates a self-perpetuating black oligarchy. All right. It's for fraternity. Fathers only want their daughters to deal with other fraternity men. And, you know, you saw that in the movie Stomp the Yard. Clearly. All right. In the past 5 years, there has been resurgence of research surrounding the philosophy and the mission of Black Greek letter organizations, BGLO. And this is so remnant, there's nothing new under the sun. You know, it tells you that in Ecclesiastes. And so I sound like the little kid who was stuttering. Back when we read the book of Maccabees, our people assimilated to the Greekish fashion. So this is just that coming around again. There's nothing new under the sun. Did not Dean Big Brother Almighty tell him you can Watusi your black ass back to Africa? He was really brown and not black at all. He said, I am a Greek. All right? But you can Watusi your ass back to Africa. All right? And that was the same thing between, you know, the Israelites, you know, in the ancient world, and between, you know, the Israelites who cleaved on to their heritage, to their Hebrew Israelite heritage, because they were indeed Hebrew, the 8 Hebrew nations, all right? But yet they were the Hebrew Israelites, all right? And they cleaved on to that, and those are the people who cleaved on to the Greekish fashion, all right? But it says, in the past 5 years, there has been resurgence of research surrounding the philosophy of the mission of the Black Greek letter organization. While my work suggests that the rites of passage of the fraternity, which include ancestor veneration, rebirthing concepts, dance performance, can mirror the characteristics found within traditional West African communities. New theories suggest the BGLO should be critiqued as social movements, and it's true, because that's what they came from, West Africa, and the people in the West Africa that are the Hebrews that are still there, that migrated there, were refugees from the land of Israel. All right, and all that dancing, and you know, the stepping and all that stuff, that just goes back to our people anyway. All right, our people were doing that, not just the fraternities. All right, it says BGLOs are some of the most influential organizations in the country. Collectively, these organizations claim approximately 800,000 members, with many coming from social elite black culture. Each year, they offer countless scholarships and conduct thousands of service programs. According to many staunch supporters, BGLOs not only insist that their existence is a valuable asset to society, but also stress that the organizations, which include writers, scholars, social activists, educators, civil rights leaders, historical linked to the success of African American community. The harshest critics maintain activities and organizations that have included secret meetings, selective membership, and preference for lighter complexions allow black elites to create and separate privileged society based on snobbery, arrogance, and have thus enabled these organizations to perpetuate a vicious cycle of racial prejudice and white supremacy. They actually help it. And all I have to do is just, you know, think back to you know, the movie School Days and the movie Stomp the Yard to see that. All right. But our only way to greatness is through Yahushua. That's found in 1 Timothy 2:5. He's the mediator between us and our power, who is angry with us. And the only way back to the Father is through Yahushua. And Yahushua is not with these fraternities that separate and create an oligarchy within amongst our own people. All right, where only a portion of our people, and it helps perpetuate the whole light skin or dark skin thing, separation. All right. So with that, I hope this was a edifying lesson and informational. But here, the video at the top, integration destroyed the black community, that was put up by St. Benji, GmsChicago STbenji2. Subscribe and be edified. With that, I'm gonna give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Bakakwadash, Wa Abba Kwam Yasharala Shalom.